The day I was sent to prison, my police officer wife married the man who had been standing beside her all along. The moment I walked out 3 years later, she broke down in tears and begged me to take her back. She told me that marriage was only part of a mission, that nothing had really happened between them, and that she was still the same woman I loved. I just laughed and walked away. The next day, when she returned to our empty house, she completely fell apart. The day they pushed me into the prison van, I saw Lin Chuxia standing outside the Civil Affairs Bureau. She was wearing the red dress I knew better than anything. Standing beside her was Gu Chengjie, her partner. Through the small window of the van, I watched them walk out together. Gu Chengjie held 2 bright red marriage certificates in his hand. Lin Chuxia looked down at them. Her face suddenly filled with panic, but she never looked back at me. The officer beside me noticed where I was staring and said, "Shen Yan, stop looking." I lowered my head and looked at the cold handcuffs around my wrists. The metal felt exactly like the divorce papers she had forced me to sign the night before. She had stood outside the detention room, separated from me by a piece of glass. Her eyes were red as she whispered, "Shen Yan, just sign it. It's only temporary. Once this mission is over, I'll come back and take you home." I looked at her and asked, "What kind of mission requires you to divorce your husband on the same day he goes to prison?" She couldn't answer. Her eyes filled with tears. "I can't explain right now. Just trust me this once." I trusted her. She was my wife, the woman I had loved for 7 years. So I signed. When she took the papers from me, her hands were shaking. I thought she was hurting because of what was happening to me. Only later did I realize she was afraid I would discover the truth. As the prison van drove away, Gu Chengjie suddenly noticed me through the window. Instead of avoiding my eyes, he smiled. It was the smile of someone who believed he had already won. That was the moment I understood. These 3 years in prison would not only destroy my life, they would destroy my trust in the person I loved most. I was convicted of illegally accessing police systems and leaking operational information. The evidence against me looked perfect. My computer records, my home network activity, everything pointed to me. Gu Chengjie personally testified against me. He claimed I was angry because Lin Chuxia spent all her time working and that I used my technical skills to interfere with her cases. But the worst part was Lin Chuxia. She never defended me. During the trial, the judge asked her, "Do you believe Shen Yan had the ability to commit this crime?" She stayed silent for a long time. Then she finally answered, "Technically, yes." Those 2 words destroyed the last hope I had. I was sentenced to 3 years. She wasn't there when they took me away. She was too busy getting married. My first night in prison, I lay on the hard bed, listening to the sound of the cell door closing. My cellmate, old Lu, looked at me and asked, "What did you do to end up here?" I looked at him and said, "My wife and her partner framed me." He gave a bitter laugh. "Then when you get out, be careful. People like that don't let go easily." After he fell asleep, I closed my eyes and reached inside my pillow. Hidden inside the lining was a small memory card I had kept secret. Before I was arrested, it contained a backup of the system logs and a recording I never got the chance to submit. Before everything happened, Lin Chuxia had asked me for help. She suspected there was a mole inside her team. She didn't trust the office computers, so she asked me to trace a suspicious login through our home security system. I found the source. The proxy wasn't connected to me. It led directly to Gu Chengjie. I was about to tell her the truth when the police broke into my home. Gu Chengjie stood among the officers, calm and confident. "Shen Yan, don't resist." At that moment, I knew everything was a setup. But I had no chance to explain. My computer was taken. The evidence was changed. And the woman who used to believe me looked at me with doubt instead of trust. For 3 years, I never wrote Lin Chuxia a single letter. She came to visit me only 3 times. The first time, she said, "Shen Yan, my marriage with Gu Chengjie is only for the mission. Don't misunderstand." The second time, she said, "When you get out, we can start over." The third time, she looked at me and said, "Can you stop looking at me like that? This is painful for me too." But every time I only asked her one question. "Did you reopen my case?" And every time she stayed silent. Every single time I asked her the same question. Did you reopen my old case? And every single time she stayed silent. That silence told me everything. It wasn't that Lin Chuxia couldn't find the truth. She just didn't want to. Because if she kept digging, she would have to face the reality that she was the one who helped send her own husband to prison. And even worse, the man she protected was the real person who destroyed me. The same day I was released from prison, the same day she was supposed to be waiting for me, she had married him. 3 years later, I finally walked out of those prison gates. The sky was clear, almost painfully bright. I threw my old duffel bag over my shoulder and stepped outside. Lin Chuxia was already there. She was wearing a simple white shirt, her long hair tied back. She looked almost exactly the same as she did 3 years ago. Calm, beautiful, and impossible to reach. Except for one thing. The ring on her finger had changed. The moment she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. Shen Yen. I stopped. She took 2 steps toward me, then suddenly froze. I'm here to take you home. I looked at her for a few seconds. Which home? Her face immediately lost color. Our home. I couldn't help but laugh. The home where you and Gu Chengjie lived together for 3 years? Her tears fell instantly. It's not what you think. The marriage certificate was only for the mission. Nothing happened. I'm still clean. When I heard those words, I almost laughed again. 3 years. She let me spend 3 years behind bars, and after all that, this was the explanation she gave me. I'm still clean. Those words meant nothing anymore. I pulled a document from my bag and handed it to her. She looked down. The moment she saw it, her hands started shaking. It's an eviction notice, I said. I bought that house completely with my own money before we got married. You and Gu Chengjie have lived there for 3 years. You need to leave by noon tomorrow. She looked up at me, shocked. Shen Yen, do you really have to do this? I stared into her eyes. Lin Chuxia, didn't you leave that house the day I went to prison? Her tears kept falling. She grabbed my sleeve. I never betrayed you. I had a reason. A very good reason. I slowly removed her fingers from my arm one by one. Save your explanation for the court. Then I turned around and walked away. Behind me, her voice broke. Shen Yen, I waited 3 years for you. I stopped for a second. But I didn't turn back. You waited 3 years for me. I continued walking. But I died 1,000 times inside those prison walls during those same 3 years. After leaving, I didn't go back to the house. I went to a small noodle shop on the west side of the city. The owner, Old Joe, looked up the moment he saw me. The spoon in his hand slipped and fell into the boiling soup. Shen Yen. I nodded. Uncle Joe, 1 bowl of beef noodles. He stared at me for a long time. His eyes slowly turned red. Over and over, he kept saying the same thing. You're out. That's all that matters. You're finally out. Old Joe used to be Lin Chuxia's informant. He was also the key witness I found before I was arrested. But 3 years ago, he suddenly disappeared. During my trial, the prosecution claimed he had left town and couldn't testify. But I always felt something was wrong. When he placed the noodles in front of me, he quietly locked the shop door. The entire place became silent. Only the 2 of us were inside. He sat across from me and lowered his voice. Are you still investigating what happened 3 years ago? My hand stopped while holding my chopsticks. Uncle Joe. What do you know? His expression changed. The night before everything happened, I saw Gu Chengjie meet someone called Brother Dao. He looked at me seriously. The next day, you were framed. I looked up at him. Why didn't you say anything back then? Old Joe gave a painful smile. My daughter was being watched. Someone sent me pictures of her and threatened me. He lowered his voice. They told me if I opened my mouth, she would die. I placed my chopsticks down. Who threatened you? He shook his head. I don't know for sure. But later I found out the number that sent those messages was connected to a burner phone Gu Chengjie used before. Then he reached under the counter and pulled out an old envelope. I didn't dare give this to you. I didn't dare give it to Officer Lin either. He looked away. By that time, she had already married Gu Chengjie. I was afraid she wouldn't believe me. Inside the envelope were three things: a blurry photograph, a USB drive containing an audio recording, and a bank transfer screenshot. The sender was connected to Gu Chengjie's cousin. The receiver was Brother Dao. The amount was 200,000 yuan. The note on the transfer said, "Payment for goods." I carefully put the evidence away. "Uncle Joe, I'll give these to my lawyer." His face suddenly became nervous. "Don't do anything reckless," old Joe warned me. "Gu Chengjie has already been promoted to deputy captain, and Lin Chuxia is still standing on his side. You just got out. You can't fight them right now." I smiled slightly. 3 years in prison had taught me many things. One of them was how to stay calm and hold my anger back. Before I could say anything else, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered. Lin Chuxia's voice came through immediately. "Where are you?" I didn't reply. Her tone became more urgent. "Xinyan, stop avoiding me. We'll talk about the house when we get back. Gu Chengjie is still on a mission right now. He can't suddenly move out." I looked ahead and asked coldly, "Is living in my house also part of his mission?" The line went silent. After a few seconds, she said softly, "That apartment is close to the bureau. It makes work easier." I laughed. "Lin Chuxia, you really have an answer for everything." Her voice became gentler. "Xinyan, I know you're hurt, but things were complicated back then. Chengjie and I got married because we needed to get close to the leader of a criminal organization. That person only trusted couples." I asked, "So because of the mission, you turned a fake marriage into a real one and moved into my wedding home?" She immediately panicked. "No, nothing happened between us. Absolutely nothing." I asked, "Then why didn't you stay in the safe house the department arranged?" Silence. Again. I continued, "Why did you choose my house? Why did you make me sign the divorce papers? Why didn't you reopen my case for 3 years?" Only her heavy breathing came through the phone. I said quietly, "See? You can't even answer." Her voice broke. "Because I was scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared the mission would fail. Scared Chengjie would get hurt. Scared you would hate me when you came out." I laughed bitterly. "Did you ever stop and think about whether I would survive those 3 years inside?" The other side became completely silent. I ended the call. 30 minutes later, I arrived at the law firm. Su Ziyuan was my old college classmate. Before I went to prison, he was the only person who believed I was innocent. He pushed a stack of documents toward me. "Everything you asked for is ready." I opened the file. The property deed. The payment records for the apartment. The notarized documents proving it was my personal property before marriage. Receipts for all the furniture and renovations. And the calculation of the rent they owed for living there illegally for 3 years. Everything was prepared. Su Ziyuan looked at me. "You really want to start this immediately?" I looked at him. "Today." He nodded. "I'll arrange movers and a notary for tomorrow morning." I stopped him. "No, we're not waiting for them to leave by themselves." He smiled. "The apartment belongs to you. The eviction notice has already been delivered. If they refuse to leave before the deadline, we handle it legally. Their belongings will be packed, recorded, and stored temporarily." I placed the envelope old Joe gave me on the table. "One more thing." Su Ziyuan opened it. As he read through the contents, his expression slowly changed. "If this evidence is real, you have a chance to reopen your case." I looked at him. Getting my conviction overturned isn't the only thing I want. He raised his head. I spoke slowly. "I want Gu Chengjie to pay for what he did. And I want Lin Chuxia to see with her own eyes what kind of person the man she protected for 3 years really is." Su Ziyuan stayed quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "What about her?" I looked out the window. "She's not part of my plan anymore." That night, I checked into a hotel. I had barely finished checking in when Lin Chuxia appeared outside my room. Her eyes were red and swollen. "Xinyan, we need to talk." I opened the door slightly. "My lawyer will contact you." She quickly placed her hand against the door, stopping me from closing it. "Don't do this. I know the apartment is yours, but we have memories there. I looked directly at her. The day you moved in with Gu Chengjie, every memory in that house was already destroyed. Her face turned pale. I told you nothing happened between us. I interrupted her. It doesn't matter whether something happened or not. She froze. I continued. What matters is that you chose him. The door slowly closed. Before it shut completely, I heard her crying. I did it for the mission. I stood behind the door and laughed quietly. Fine. The mission. Tomorrow, I'll give you another mission. Watch the apartment you lived in for 3 years disappear piece by piece. The next morning at 10 a.m., I stood outside the apartment building that was supposed to be our wedding home. A 220 square meter apartment in the center of the city. I bought that apartment before we got married. I personally supervised every single step of the renovation. Back then, Lin Chuxia told me she wanted a bright and sunny living room. So I knocked down an entire wall and replaced it with floor-to-ceiling windows. She said police work was exhausting and that she wanted a relaxing bath whenever she came home. So I completely rebuilt the master bathroom and installed a heated jacuzzi tub just for her. I spent years creating that home for us. And in the end, I spent 3 years in prison while Gu Chengjie enjoyed everything I built. Everything in that apartment belonged to me. That day, 6 movers arrived from the moving company. 2 people from the notary office came with them, along with Su Ziyuan. I pressed the doorbell. A few seconds later, Gu Chengjie opened the door. The moment I saw him, my expression changed. He was wearing my gray lounge clothes. I recognized them immediately. I bought that outfit before I went to prison. Gu Chengjie frowned when he saw me. Xinyan, can you just leave us alone? My eyes stayed on the clothes he was wearing. Take them off. He froze. What? I looked at him calmly. They're mine. His face immediately darkened. You just got out of prison and you're already acting this petty? I didn't waste time arguing. I turned toward the notary. Please record this. Resident Gu Chengjie is currently using personal property that does not belong to him. The notary nodded. Gu Chengjie's face turned red from embarrassment. He lowered his voice. Xinyan, don't think you can control everything just because you're out now. You know exactly why you ended up in prison 3 years ago, don't you? I looked straight at him. You know better than I do. For a second, his eyes flickered with fear. Su Ziyuan stepped forward and held up the documents. Mr. Gu, this apartment is Mr. Xinyan's personal property acquired before marriage. You and Ms. Lin Chuxia have already received the eviction notice. The deadline is 12 p.m. today. He continued. We are here to complete the property inventory and proceed with the legal eviction process. Gu Chengjie sneered. Does Lin Chuxia know about this? I answered calmly. She will know soon. The movers entered. The first thing they removed was the piano in the living room. It was the wedding gift I bought for Lin Chuxia. She couldn't even play, but she always said it looked beautiful there. After I went to prison, I heard Gu Chengjie often invited his coworkers over for parties. They treated my home like it was their private lounge. The second thing removed was the wedding photo hanging on the wall. I told the movers, take it down and put it in the box. Gu Chengjie stood there silently, his face getting darker every second. Xinyan, have you lost your mind? When Chuxia comes back and sees this, what do you think she'll say? I looked at him. What she thinks has nothing to do with me anymore. At 11:30, the front door suddenly opened. Lin Chuxia rushed inside. She was still wearing her police uniform, her hair messy from rushing over. The moment she saw the half-empty living room, she froze. Xinyan, what are you doing? I stood beside the floor-to-ceiling windows and looked at her, moving out. Her eyes instantly filled with tears. This is our home. I looked at her. No, it's my house. She ran toward me and grabbed my wrist. You can't do this. Our wedding photo was here. The sofa we picked together was here. The bathtub you installed for me. The gardenia plant you planted yourself. I glanced toward the balcony. The gardenia plant was already dead. The soil was filled with Gu Chengjie's cigarette butts. Pointed at it. You mean this? Lin Chuxia followed my gaze. Her face slowly turned pale. Gu Chengjie immediately tried to explain. I didn't know that plant was yours. But Lin Chuxia didn't even look at him. She walked toward the balcony, slowly knelt down, and picked the cigarette butts out of the planter with trembling hands. At that moment, she finally understood. The memories she kept talking about were already destroyed by the person she chose to protect. I turned to the movers. Continue. The master bedroom door opened. Inside, Gu Chengjie's coat was lying on the bed. I opened the nightstand. A photo was inside. It was Lin Chuxia and Gu Chengjie. They were wearing casual clothes, standing close together, with the ocean behind them. I picked up the photo and looked at Lin Chuxia. Her expression changed immediately. That picture was taken during a mission. It was only for cover. I nodded. So getting a marriage certificate was a mission. Taking photos together was a mission. Living in my house was a mission. I looked at her. Sleeping in my bed was a mission too. Her voice shook. We didn't sleep together. Gu Chengjie finally spoke. His voice was cold. Xinyan, don't insult Chuxia. I laughed. You're wearing my clothes, living in my house, sleeping in my master bedroom, and now you're lecturing me about insulting you? Gu Chengjie's face instantly turned ugly. The notary continued recording every single detail. On camera, Lin Chuxia finally came back to her senses. She rushed toward me, her voice trembling. You're collecting evidence. I shrugged. Just a habit. 3 years inside taught me one thing. I save proof of every conversation, every action, and every word. Tears rolled down her cheeks. You weren't like this before. I looked at her quietly, because I trusted you too much back then. The moment those words left my mouth, all the strength seemed to leave her body. She grabbed the wall beside her just to keep herself standing. At exactly 12 o'clock noon, the apartment was almost completely empty. Everything that belonged to me was gone. Gu Chengjie and Lin Chuxia's belongings were packed, recorded, and moved into temporary storage. The final step was changing the door locks. Lin Chuxia stood alone in the empty living room. Her whole body was shaking. She stared at the faded outline left behind by our wedding photo on the wall. Suddenly, she broke down. Shen Yan. Her scream echoed through the apartment. You can't do this to me. I leaned against the doorway. You did the same thing to me the day I went to prison, Lin Chuxia. She cried so hard she could barely breathe. Gu Chengjie stepped forward and tried to help her up, but she slapped his hand away. Don't touch me. His expression changed instantly. I watched everything quietly, but I felt no happiness, no revenge. Only one thought remained. It was too late, far too late. I turned around and walked away. The moment the elevator doors closed, Su Ziyuan handed me his phone. Lao Zhou finished restoring the recording. I pressed play. Gu Chengjie's voice came through clearly. I'll take care of Xin Yan once he's locked up. After that, Lin Chuxia will have no one left to trust except me. The elevator slowly moved downward. I watched the numbers change above the door. The first piece had finally fallen. I gave the recording to Su Ziyuan. He listened 3 times before finally speaking. This is enough to submit as a lead for reopening your case. I asked, is it enough to clear me? He shook his head. Not by itself, but it's enough to reopen the investigation. We still need proof that Gu Chengjie had a direct connection to the leak from 3 years ago. I took out the bank transfer screenshot Lao Zhou gave me. What about this? Su Ziyuan's eyes immediately sharpened. If we can connect this account to Brother Dao, we can completely break open the old case. I asked, where is Brother Dao now? He checked his files. He was sentenced to 5 years back then. He should still be inside. I smiled. Then let's go visit him. The next day, Su Ziyuan and I went to the prison to meet Brother Dao. His real name was Zhao Dubiao. Back then, the police operation had targeted the smuggling group he worked for. When he saw me through the glass, he froze for a moment. Then he laughed. Xin Yan. You're out. I stared at him. You know me? He laughed again. Know you? You're the unlucky guy who took the blame for Gu Chengjie. Su Ziyuan immediately turned on the recorder. Brother Dao didn't care. He leaned back in his chair and spoke casually. Back then, I got a warning. Someone told me the raid was happening earlier than planned and that I needed to run. The message didn't come from you. It came from a middleman hired by Gu Chengjie. I asked, then why did all the evidence point to me? Brother Dao sneered. Because Gu Chengjie needed someone to take the fall. You're good with technology. He used that. He got into your home network beforehand, planted traces, and made it look like the attack came from your devices. Then he convinced your wife to confirm that you had the ability to do it. My hands slowly tightened into fists. I had already suspected the truth, but hearing it from someone else still felt like a knife cutting deeper. Su Ziyuan asked, do you have proof? Brother Dao looked at me. Yes. Then he smiled. But why should I give it to you? I looked at him. What do you want? His smile grew wider. I want my sentence reduced. Su Ziyuan answered calmly. If your information helps reopen this case and solve the truth, you can apply for credit under the law. But the final decision isn't ours. Brother Dao nodded. Fine. Deal. I have a recording of a phone call between Gu Chengjie and the middleman from back then. And I also have a photo of the payment card. The truth was finally getting closer. The evidence is at my old place with my mother. After leaving the prison, the sky was covered with dark clouds. Su Ziyuan walked beside me and said, if everything Brother Dao said is true, then Gu Chengjie didn't just frame you. He could also be involved in leaking confidential information, giving false testimony, and accepting illegal payments. I nodded. What about Lin Chuxia? Su Ziyuan looked at me. Her testimony back then might not be enough to charge her with a crime, but at the very least she was seriously negligent. I didn't say anything. Honestly, this result didn't surprise me. Lin Chuxia wasn't the person who planned everything, but she was the person who pushed me into prison. That was enough. When I returned to the hotel that afternoon, Lin Chuxia was already waiting in the lobby. She looked exhausted. Her face was pale, and her eyes were red from crying. Xinyan, I need to talk to you. I looked at her. Now isn't a good time. She stepped in front of me, blocking my path. I know you went to see Zhao Dubiao. I looked at her. Information travels quickly. Her voice became urgent. He's a criminal. You can't just believe everything he says. Gu Chengjie may have made mistakes back then, but he would never frame you. I laughed. After everything that happened, you still believe him? Her eyes moved nervously. I don't believe him. I believe in evidence. I took out my phone. Then I played the recording. Gu Chengjie's voice immediately filled the hotel lobby. Once Xinyan is locked up, Lin Chuxia will have no one left to trust except me. Lin Chuxia froze. Her entire body went still. That's impossible. I stopped the recording. Didn't you just say you believe in evidence? Her lips turned pale. She reached toward my phone. I stepped back. Her hand grabbed nothing. Xinyan. Where did you get this recording? Why didn't you tell me sooner? I stared at her. I did tell you Gu Chengjie was suspicious before I went to prison. She froze. I continued. But you said I only suspected him because I was jealous. Tears slowly rolled down her face. I didn't know the truth back then. I looked at her. No. You didn't want to know. Those words hit her harder than anything else. People around the lobby started looking over. Lin Chuxia lowered her voice. Give me some time. I'll investigate everything. I shook my head. No need. She became anxious. I'm a police officer. I'm more qualified to investigate this than you. My eyes moved to the uniform she was wearing. Lin Chuxia, you're the least qualified person to investigate this. Her face turned white. Why? I answered calmly. Because the moment you start digging into the truth, you'll have to admit how badly you've been deceived for the past 3 years. She staggered slightly. I walked past her toward the elevator. Behind me, she shouted, Xinyan, if Gu Chengjie really did something wrong, I'll arrest him with my own hands. I didn't turn around. First, worry about fixing your own life. Gu Chengjie's reaction came quickly. That same night, An anonymous post appeared on a local online forum. The title was, "Released prisoner Xinyan takes revenge on police officer ex-wife, forces her out of their wedding home." The post was written to make me look like a monster. It claimed that prison had changed me, that I had become unstable and aggressive. It said Lin Chuxia waited 3 years for me without moving on. But the moment I got out, I attacked her, emptied our home, and used the old case to force her into getting back together with me. Several photos were attached. One showed Lin Chuxia crying on the floor of the empty apartment. Another showed Gu Chengjie trying to help her up while she pushed him away. The last one showed my back as I stood at the doorway, making me look cold and heartless. The comments exploded. "People released from prison are scary. That police officer suffered so much. She waited 3 years and this is what she got? Emptying the entire house is unbelievably petty. People like this shouldn't have been released." When Su Ziyuan sent me the post, I was organizing the address information for Brother Dao's mother. I read everything. Then I only said, "Collect evidence." He replied, "I already started. The post's IP address is hidden, but the angle of those photos is suspicious. They look like they were taken from the building across from your living room window." I looked at him. "Gu Chengjie." Su Ziyuan nodded. "Most likely." I laughed. He was rushing so badly to make me look like a crazy person. And the more desperate he became, the more afraid he was. The next morning, Lin Chuxia appeared again. This time, Lin Chuxia wasn't wearing her police uniform. She stood outside the hotel entrance, her voice hoarse. "I didn't make that post." I looked at her. "I know." For a moment, her eyes lit up. But then I continued, "Still, you looked pretty convincing in those crying photos." Her face instantly turned pale. "Xinyan, do you really have to hurt me like this?" I didn't answer. She took a document envelope out of her bag. "These are things I've kept for the past 3 years. Your letters, my prison visit records, and the mission documents for my marriage with Gu Chengjie. You'll understand everything after reading them. What happened between him and me is really not what you think." I didn't take the envelope. Her eyes became red. "You won't even look at them?" I looked at her calmly. "Your innocence doesn't need my approval." Her voice trembled. "But I want you to know the truth." I stared at her. "Lin Chuxia, the worst pain was never whether you slept with him or not." She froze. I continued, "The worst part was that when I was sitting in prison, you chose to stand beside him." She didn't move. That one sentence hurt her more than any argument ever could. After a long silence, she slowly pulled the envelope back. "I'll investigate Gu Chengjie." I looked at her. "Be careful before you do." She looked confused. I didn't explain. If Gu Chengjie could frame me, he could frame her too. And soon she found out I was right. At 4 p.m. Lin Chuxia was called into a meeting with her superiors. The reason? There were problems with her testimony in the Xinyan case from 3 years ago. There were also irregularities in the mission documents she submitted during her marriage registration with Gu Chengjie. Her voice was shaking when she called me. "Xinyan. They said I violated regulations." I was standing on the street, holding the old phone I had just received from Brother Dao's mother. I replied, "You said the marriage certificate was only for a mission, right? Then the mission paperwork should have been complete." The phone went silent. I asked, "You don't have the complete documents, do you?" Her breathing became heavier. Gu Chengjie said it was an emergency back then. He said we should register the marriage first and complete the paperwork later. I closed my eyes. It hurt. It hurt because Lin Chuxia always said she believed in evidence. But one simple excuse from Gu Chengjie was enough for her to believe him. "Lin Chuxia, you didn't break the rules for the mission. You broke them for Gu Chengjie." A quiet sob came through the phone. "I didn't know this would happen." I answered, "But now you know." Then I hung up. That night, the data recovery on the old phone was finally completed. Inside was an audio recording. Gu Chengjie's voice was crystal clear. "Xinyan is too good with technology. If we keep investigating, he'll find the truth eventually." Make sure the evidence is planted before he realizes what happened. Another voice asked, will Officer Lin believe it? Gu Chengjie laughed. Of course she will. She hates people questioning her judgment more than anything, especially Shen Yan. I sat in front of the computer, staring at the audio waveform. Su Ziyuan sat beside me in silence for a long time. Once this comes out, Gu Chengjie is finished. I shook my head. Not enough. He looked at me. I opened another file. Inside were Gu Chengjie's reimbursement records, utility bills, parking fees, property management payments, all registered under my apartment. The money came from a special mission fund. But the mission filing date was 2 months after I went to prison. Meaning, they got married first, moved into my house first, then created the mission paperwork later. Lin Chuxia's so-called innocence couldn't even survive a basic investigation. Su Ziyuan asked, you're submitting this too? I nodded. Yes. He hesitated. Then Lin Chuxia will also be punished. I closed my laptop. The consequences she deserves are not something I need to carry for her. The day Lin Chuxia was suspended for investigation, Gu Chengjie didn't go see her. He went straight to the office, and he pushed all the blame onto her. He claimed the marriage mission was Lin Chuxia's idea. He claimed moving into my wedding apartment was also her plan, saying she wanted to help stabilize my emotions after I got released. He said he was only following orders. When Lin Chuxia heard his statement, she was completely stunned. She immediately rushed to Gu Chengjie's office. The door wasn't fully closed. I wasn't there, but someone later sent the video to Su Ziyuan. In the footage, Lin Chuxia's face was completely pale. She looked at Gu Chengjie with disbelief. Gu Chengjie, you're saying I was the one who suggested all of this? Gu Chengjie sat behind his desk, completely calm. Chuxia, someone has to take responsibility for the procedural mistakes. Lin Chuxia stared at him. So you're saying I should take the blame? Gu Chengjie looked at her without emotion. You're Shen Yan's ex-wife. You were also a witness in the original case. It makes more sense for you to take the consequences than me. At that moment, Lin Chuxia looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. That's not what you told me before. You said the marriage certificate was only for the mission. You said all the paperwork would be completed properly. Gu Chengjie looked at her. I did say that. Her voice trembled. Then why does the filing date show it was completed 2 months later? Gu Chengjie went silent. That silence was enough. Lin Chuxia suddenly rushed forward and grabbed his collar. You lied to me. Gu Chengjie pushed her away. Lin Chuxia, stop acting like you're the innocent victim here. When Shen Yan suspected me back then, you chose not to believe him. You were the one who brought him the divorce papers. You were the one who testified against him. No one forced you. The force of the push sent Lin Chuxia crashing into the wall. Gu Chengjie stood up, calmly fixing his collar. Now that you regret everything, you want to put all the blame on me? Tears rolled down her face. I sent him to prison because of you. Gu Chengjie laughed coldly. No, you didn't do it for me. You did it for yourself. For your pride. For your mission. For proving that your judgment was never wrong. Those words completely broke her. Lin Chuxia slowly dropped to the floor. She hugged herself and cried so hard she couldn't even speak. The video ended there. After watching the entire recording, Su Ziyuan cursed. Gu Chengjie is unbelievable. I didn't say anything. He looked at me. You don't feel sorry for her? I stared at Lin Chuxia's broken expression frozen on the screen. Feel sorry? Maybe 3 years ago I would have. But now, I paused. Now I only think she finally heard the truth I've been trying to tell her all along. She just believed it when it came from Gu Chengjie's mouth. That afternoon, the investigation team officially accepted the evidence submitted by Su Ziyuan. Old Joe stepped forward as a witness. Brother Dao provided the recovered recordings. The forensic team completed the data recovery report from the old phone. My case officially entered the retrial review process, and Gu Chengjie was suspended from duty. When the news spread, Lin Chuxia sent me a message. I saw the recordings. I didn't reply. A second message came. I'm sorry. Still, I didn't answer. Then came the third message. If I had believed you even once back then, would you have never gone to prison? I stared at that sentence for a long time. My fingers hovered over the screen. Finally, I replied with only one word. Yes. After that, she never sent another message. That night, Zhao Milan, Lin Chuxia's mother, found me. She had always looked down on me. She often said that someone like me, just a technology worker, was not good enough for her police officer daughter. The moment she entered the cafe, she slammed her bag onto the table. Xinyan, how far are you planning to push Chuxia? I looked at her calmly. Aunt Zhao. She brought this on herself. Her anger exploded. She married Gu Chengjie because of the mission. Why can't you understand that? A man should be more forgiving. I laughed. If your daughter had gone to prison, and I married another woman the same day, would you tell me to be more forgiving? She immediately became speechless. I continued, the down payment for your retirement apartment. I paid for that, didn't I? Her expression changed. Why are you bringing that up? Because I want to remind you. Don't spend my money while calling me selfish. Her face changed from pale to red. You gave that willingly as a gift to your elder. I nodded. I gave it willingly back then. But not anymore. I took out a lawyer's letter. If you're not willing to discuss repayment, we'll settle it in court. Her voice became sharp. Xinyan, are you crazy? You just got out of prison. And now you want to destroy our whole family? I looked at her. The day I went to prison. Your whole family already treated me like I was dead. Didn't you? She couldn't say a word. I stood up and walked away. But when I reached the door, I saw Lin Chuxia standing there. She must have heard everything. Her face was completely pale. Her eyes were filled with tears. Xinyan, I'll pay back the money my mother owes you. I looked at her. Talk to my lawyer. Her voice broke. You won't even say one extra word to me anymore? I looked at her quietly. There is nothing left to say between us. It had been a long time coming. The day my retrial was officially approved, I stood outside the courthouse, holding the notice in my hand. My hands were steady. 3 years. The day I had been waiting for had finally arrived. Dozens of reporters surrounded the entrance. One of them asked me, Mr. Shun, if your verdict is overturned, who is the first person you want to speak to, and what would you say? I looked at them and answered, myself. I want to tell myself that I was right to survive. The entire crowd went silent for a moment. Then camera flashes exploded everywhere. Outside the crowd, Lin Chuxia stood quietly. She wasn't wearing her uniform. Her eyes were red from crying. She tried to come closer, but the investigators stopped her. She was now a person involved in the investigation. She was not allowed to contact me. I glanced at her once. Then I looked away. At the pretrial hearing, I saw Gu Chengjie for the first time since everything began. He was wearing a dark coat. His expression was calm, almost forced. When he saw me, he even smiled. Xinyan, you moved pretty quickly after getting out. I looked directly at him. Now it's your turn to go in. His expression instantly became cold. Don't get too confident. A few audio recordings don't prove anything. I nodded. That's why we also have bank records, call logs, system records, and the mission documents you altered. For the first time, his expression changed. The hearing began. Su Ziyuan presented the evidence one piece at a time. First, the original system records proved that my computer had been remotely controlled when the leaked information was uploaded years ago. Second, the proxy IP used for the remote access was connected to a temporary SIM card previously used by Gu Chengjie. Third, the recordings and transfer records provided by Brother Dao proved that Gu Chengjie had communicated confidential information through a middleman. Fourth, Lin Chuxia's original testimony only proved that I had the technical ability to commit the crime. It never proved that I intentionally leaked anything. But Gu Chengjie used her words as the main evidence that sent me to prison. Fifth, The mission documents connected to the marriage registration showed signs of being changed afterward. Every piece of evidence hit Gu Chengjie harder than the last. First, he tried to remain calm, but slowly, sweat appeared on his forehead. Finally, he turned toward Lin Chuxia sitting in the gallery. His eyes seemed to say he still expected her to protect him. But she didn't. She only stared at the evidence on the table. Tears kept falling from her eyes. When it was Lin Chuxia's turn to testify, she slowly stood up. Her voice was weak and hoarse. I made the wrong judgment back then. I didn't fully verify the information Gu Chengjie provided. I also failed to properly investigate the doubts Shen Yan raised. She paused. Then she looked directly at me. I hurt him. Gu Chengjie's expression twisted. Lin Chuxia, are you crazy? The judge immediately struck the gavel. Order in the court. Lin Chuxia continued. Regarding the marriage registration mission, I admit there were procedural violations. The actual registration date was earlier than the official filing date. Moving into Shen Yan's premarital property was also not an arrangement from the organization. It was my own decision. The entire courtroom started whispering. Gu Chengjie finally lost control. Lin Chuxia, you're trying to put everything on me. You were the one who signed those papers. Lin Chuxia closed her eyes. I will take responsibility for my mistakes. But you will not escape responsibility for yours. I looked at her. For the first time in 3 years, she didn't use the word mission to explain herself. After the hearing ended, Gu Chengjie was placed under travel restrictions. The retrial process officially began. Lin Chuxia walked toward me. Su Ziyuan stepped in front of her. She stopped a few steps away. Shen Yan, I know it's too late to say anything. I looked at her. Then don't. Tears fell from her eyes again. I just want you to know that I will cooperate with the investigation. I nodded. That's the least you can do. Her face turned pale. Sounded cold. But it was the truth. I couldn't suddenly feel grateful because she finally chose to do the right thing. A late correction could never erase the damage already done. I walked out of the courthouse. The sunlight outside was almost blinding. Su Ziyuan looked at me. How do you feel? I thought for a moment. Like I finally climbed out of a deep well. He smiled. Then keep walking forward. I was about to get into the car when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered the call. Gu Chengjie's voice came through. Shen Yan, let's meet. I laughed. Scared now? There was a 2-second silence. Then he said, name your price. We can talk. I replied, I want you behind bars. His breathing instantly changed. I hung up. This time, he was the one waiting for the sound of the prison door closing. The place Gu Chengjie chose for the meeting was an abandoned auto repair shop. Su Ziyuan tried to stop me from going. I told him, he's already desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. So I brought a recorder with me and informed the authorities about my location beforehand. The repair shop was completely dark. Gu Chengjie stood beside a wrecked car, a cigarette between his fingers. The moment he saw me, the first thing he said was, you're tougher than I thought. I stopped about 5 meters away from him. You still talk too much. He smiled coldly. Shen Yan, do you really think a retrial will completely overturn everything? Don't forget, most of the evidence back then went through official procedures. Even if I get caught, you're not going to walk away completely clean. I looked at him. Is that why you're so desperate to meet me? His expression changed. I can compensate you. I laughed. How much? 5 million. 3 years of my life for 5 million? His jaw tightened. 10 million. I stepped closer. Gu Chengjie, do you really think everything in this world has a price? He stared at me. Once you get out of prison, you should move on. If you continue this, Lin Chuxia will go down too. I looked at him. You're using her to threaten me? He smiled. You still love her, don't you? I laughed. Your information is outdated. His smile froze. I continued. What happens to her is her own choice. But bringing you down, that's my business. Gu Chengjie's face turned completely dark. Xinyan, don't force me. I looked at him. What are you going to do? Frame me again? He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out a stack of photos from his pocket. The pictures showed me meeting old Joe, Brother Dao's mother, and Su Ziyuan after my release. He was trying to prove that I was working with witnesses to create false evidence. I glanced at the photos. Good pictures. He frowned. I continued. You followed a retrial applicant and his witnesses. Submit these. They're more useful than you realize. The moment he understood what I meant, he reached out and tried to take the photos back. I stopped him. Relax. Then footsteps came from the darkness. 2 investigators walked out. Gu Chengjie's face instantly lost all color. You called the police? I looked at him. I only reported the meeting. You brought the evidence yourself. The investigators stepped forward and ordered him to cooperate. Suddenly, Gu Chengjie lost control. He rushed toward me, trying to grab the recorder. I moved aside. The investigators immediately restrained him. Even while being held down, he kept shouting. Xinyan, you're nothing. You're a loser. You have nothing without Lin Chuxia. I crouched down and looked at him. I'm doing perfectly fine without her. His expression changed. It looked like those words hit harder than anything else. That night, Gu Chengjie was officially taken into custody. The charges included stalking witnesses, interfering with the retrial investigation, suspected false testimony, and leaking confidential information from the old case. The evidence was complete. There was no way for him to escape. When the news spread, Lin Chuxia appeared outside the repair shop. She stood behind the police barrier and watched as Gu Chengjie was taken away. When he passed by her, he suddenly laughed. Chuxia, are you happy now? You destroyed me for Xinyan. Lin Chuxia stared at him. There was no anger in her eyes, only emptiness. He didn't destroy you. You did this to yourself. Gu Chengjie sneered. You really have the courage to say that to me now? He begged you to believe him back then. Did you? Lin Chuxia's face turned pale. But Gu Chengjie wasn't finished. You thought he was holding you back too, didn't you? You thought he didn't understand your work. You liked having me beside you during missions. You liked taking me to your work events. You liked living in his apartment with me. Admit it. Lin Chuxia swayed. I stood nearby, but I didn't move toward her. The police pushed Gu Chengjie into the car. Lin Chuxia slowly lowered herself to the curb. She covered her face and cried. She finally saw the truth. But by the time she understood everything, there was no one left waiting for her. The day my retrial verdict was announced, Lin Chuxia called me 23 times. I didn't answer a single call. The court announced that the original verdict had been overturned. The investigation confirmed serious problems with the evidence. Several key pieces of evidence had been deliberately fabricated. I was officially declared innocent of all charges. When I heard the word innocent, I didn't cry. I simply looked down at my hands. 3 years ago, when they put handcuffs on me, I thought these hands would never be clean again. But now, they finally belong to me again. Su Ziyuan patted my shoulder. Congratulations, Xinyan. I nodded. Thank you. Reporters immediately surrounded me. Mr. Shun, will you seek accountability now? I answered, yes. Another reporter asked, does that include your ex-wife, Lin Chuxia? I paused for a moment. Then I said, everyone who deserves to be held responsible. That single sentence exploded across the internet. Outside the courthouse, Lin Chuxia was waiting for me. She wore a black coat. Her hair was messy from the wind. In her hands was an old photo album. The moment she saw me, she quickly walked over. Xinyan. I stopped. Her eyes were swollen and red. You're finally cleared. I only replied, A weak smile appeared on her face. That's great. That's really great. I looked directly at her. Maybe not for you. Her expression instantly changed. I know. I'll accept whatever punishment comes. I'll cooperate with the investigation. But Xinyan, can we start over? For a moment, I thought I heard wrong. She quickly opened the photo album. Inside were pictures from our past. The college sports field. Our tiny rental apartment. The first house we renovated together. In one photo, she was wearing a safety helmet, standing inside the unfinished house, smiling happily. She turned page after page. Tears fell onto the photos. I know I made a huge mistake. I know you hate me. But Gu Chengjie and I never really became a couple. The marriage certificate was only for the mission. I'm still pure. Not that sentence again. I looked at her. A deep exhaustion washed over me. Lin Chuxia. Why do you always think this is what I care about? She froze. I continued. Whether you slept with him or not doesn't matter anymore. Her face went completely pale. How can it not matter? I never physically betrayed you. I interrupted her. You betrayed my trust. She stood there, completely frozen. I kept going. The night they took me away, you didn't believe me. At the trial, you didn't believe me. During the 3 years I was in prison, you never seriously tried to find proof of my innocence. The day I got out, the first thing you asked was for me to understand why you married Gu Chengjie. Tears streamed down her face. I looked at her. You protected your so-called purity. But you destroyed my life. She almost lost her balance. Shen Yen. I'll make it up to you. I laughed. With what? She desperately said. I'll quit my job. I'll make a public apology. I'll return the house to you. I don't want anything else. Just give me one more chance. I shook my head. The house was always mine. All the color disappeared from her face. I turned around to leave. Suddenly, she rushed forward and hugged me from behind. Shen Yen. Please. Let's get married again. Reporters were everywhere. Camera flashes filled the entire area. I slowly removed her fingers from my arm one by one, just like I did the day I walked out of prison. She cried so hard she could barely stand. You used to say that no matter what mistake I made, you would always take me home. I looked back at her. That was before. She stared at me. What about now? I looked ahead. Now. The house is empty. She froze. I didn't look back again. That night, the video of Lin Chuxia begging me to remarry her reached the top of the trending list. Some people called her heartless and said she deserved it. Some said she was pitiful. Some called me cold and cruel. I didn't read any of it. I went back to that house. Everything had already been renovated. The place where our wedding photo once hung was now replaced with a blank painting. On the balcony, I planted new gardenias. This time, I would take care of them myself. The next morning, Lin Chuxia went back to the old house. She probably thought I had only taken a few things. But when she opened the door, all she saw was an empty room. No wedding photos. No sofa. No piano. Not even the cups she bought. There was no trace left of the life we once shared. Even the locks had been changed. The cleaning lady looked at her and said, Mr. Shun completed the handover yesterday. No unauthorized people will be allowed inside anymore. Lin Chuxia stood at the doorway. Then, suddenly, she let out a broken scream and collapsed into tears. The security footage showed her slowly lowering herself to the floor. She held the photo album tightly against her chest, crying so hard that she almost fainted. This time, Gu Chengjie wasn't there to catch her. And neither was I. The day Lin Chuxia received her official punishment, the weather was freezing. She lost all of her honorary titles. She was suspended from duty, and she was placed under further investigation. Gu Chengjie's case also moved into the prosecution stage. He was charged with giving false testimony, leaking operational information, accepting bribes, and framing others. Brother Dao's old case was also reopened for a complete investigation. I sat in the law firm, signing one document after another. First, the state compensation application. Second, the lawsuit for damage to my reputation. Third, the civil compensation claim against Gu Chengjie. Fourth, the settlement for rent, property damage, and losses caused by Lin Chuxia's illegal use of my premarital property. Su Ziyuan looked at me. Are you really going to calculate every single detail with Lin Chuxia? I answered, "She lived there for 3 years. She might break down." I looked up at him. "I broke down there too." Su Ziyuan stayed quiet. He didn't say anything else. That afternoon, Lin Chuxia came to the law firm. She looked much thinner than before. She sat across from me without makeup. Dark circles surrounded her tired eyes. Su Ziyuan handed her the settlement documents. She opened them slowly. Her eyes stayed on the pages for a long time. Occupancy fees, furniture damage, property management costs, renovation restoration expenses. Her voice stopped halfway through reading. Tears fell down her face. "Shen Yan, do we really have to do this to each other?" I looked at her. "Yes." She raised her eyes. "You never used to care about money with me." I nodded. "That's exactly why you both thought you could use whatever you wanted without consequences." Her face turned pale. I continued, "Your mother's retirement apartment will be handled separately. Everything depends on the nature of the money transfer. If Zhao Milan is willing to negotiate, we'll create a repayment plan. If not, we'll go to court." She quickly said, "I'll pay it back." I looked at her. "That's her debt. Not yours." "But she's my mother." I stared at her. "Then what was I to you?" The room went silent. She couldn't answer. She no longer had the right to. She lowered her head. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the document. "I'll sign." Her hand shook the entire time she wrote her name. After finishing, she placed the pen down. "Shen Yan, can I ask you one last question?" I didn't respond, but she asked anyway. "If I had believed you just once back then, would we still have a home together?" I looked at her. "Yes." The tears came instantly. That one word hurt her more than any accusation, because it meant she once had everything, and she was the one who destroyed it. She covered her mouth. Her shoulders shook as she cried. I didn't hand her a tissue. Su Ziyuan did. She took it quietly. "Thank you." Before leaving, she suddenly took a set of keys from her bag. "These are the old keys to your house. I kept them all this time." I said, "The locks have already been changed." Her hand stopped in midair. After a few seconds, she slowly pulled it back. "I know." She walked toward the door. Then she stopped. "Shen Yan, I'm leaving this city." I answered, "Take care." She looked back at me. The last bit of hope in her eyes disappeared. I went to Gu Chengjie's trial. Not because I wanted to watch him suffer. I went there for the person I was 3 years ago. The person who was trapped and couldn't prove the truth. Gu Chengjie stood in the defendant's box. His face was pale. There was no trace left of the confident police officer he once was. The prosecutor began explaining the facts one by one. How he passed information to Brother Dao through a middleman. How he planted false evidence before everything happened. How he used Lin Chuxia's trust in him to redirect all suspicion toward me. How he married Lin Chuxia under the excuse of a mission after I was imprisoned. How he moved into my premarital property. Every sentence landed like a hammer. Lin Chuxia was there too. She sat in the back row. Her face was completely pale. When Gu Chengjie saw her, he suddenly smiled. "Happy now, Lin Chuxia?" The judge warned him to stop, but he had nothing left to lose. He continued, "I admit I framed Shen Yan, but Lin Chuxia isn't innocent either. She had chances to find the truth. She didn't. She knew Shen Yan kept saying he was innocent, but she chose not to believe him. She didn't trust me. She trusted that she could never be wrong." Lin Chuxia flinched when she heard that. I didn't even turn to look at her. Gu Chengjie continued, "You think you won, Shen Yan? You spent 3 years in prison. She will never belong to you again. None of us won." I looked at him. "You're wrong. I hope you have peace and happiness for the rest of your life." I stared at the ring for a long time. Then I walked to the balcony. I placed it inside an old metal box. That box already contained a copy of the original verdict, the memory card, my release documents, and the final not guilty judgment. They weren't painful memories anymore. They were proof. Proof that I had once been pushed to the very bottom. and proof that I had climbed back up by myself. Later that night, I turned off the lights. Outside the window, the city was still shining. I stood by the door and looked around at the home that belonged completely to me. No Lin Chuxia, no Gu Chengjie, no old wedding pictures, no delayed apologies, no tears from anyone, only clean floors, quiet couch, and the gardenias on the balcony, blooming beautifully.